Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's video is extremely casual and it's going to be a kind of like apartment update and kind of like searching for an apartment in Texas. So I am still here in Chicago. I think everybody thinks that I left. I'm still here. I'm still here. I just want to go look for apartments. And it's really different. It's really different. But I'm gonna get into that. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on apartment hunting in Chicago versus Texas, and I say Texas as a whole because I toured in 2 cities, and I know there's more than just 2 cities, but like the major cities are Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin. 4 major cities, and we all know that Chicago is a state. But it feels like Chicago is Illinois. But if you're interested in this video, please keep watching. Okay, so to start off, the biggest thing that's been like different for me is, and like if I'm wrong, please let me know, but this has been my experience. In Texas, they don't really check your credit. Like they don't really check your credit for an apartment. They just want to know if you make 3 times the rent. Versus here in Chicago, like you really don't have to make 3 times the rent. They just want to see your credit. Which that's like different, because there were a couple apartments that I really liked and I was like, okay, I know I make 3 times the rent because I'm only applying for places that I make enough to, you know, rent for. And I would like submit pay stubs and my ID, and then I would be approved. So I don't know if that's it for Texas, but that process is like kind of sketchy to me, because it's like at that point I feel like anybody can get an apartment anywhere. But then like I guess that's the purpose, right? Maybe they don't have like housing discrimination as much. And if you guys know anything about that, specifically in Austin and Dallas, because those were the 2 places that I went to go tour, was in Austin and Dallas, let me know. Yeah, that was really different. 2, I kind of spoke about this in my, oh, look at me crossing my arms, I'm getting comfortable. But I kind of spoke about this in my previous video, but everyone in Texas, like the amenities is everything. Everyone's like, it has a pool, it has a gym, it has a dog park, it has Amazon lockers to do your stuff. Like they really go hard on the amenities. Versus here in Chicago, it's just like, it's more so the area than the amenities. So that was like really different for me, because I was like, they're like, we have this, this and that. And me, I'm in my head, I'm like, I don't really care. I just wanted to be in a nice area that I feel comfortable in. Like, who cares if it has a pool? Like, yeah, that's nice, but I don't even really go to the pool. Like I was saying in my last video, I have a pool here in my building, but it's been closed due to COVID. And I honestly, I haven't been like, darn it, I really wanted to go to the pool. I haven't even thought about that. So them really pushing their amenities was really like, okay, but what about this other stuff? Like, do y'all have pets? Or like, I know for a couple of apartments that I did go to tour in, a lot of people were complaining that people weren't picking up after their dogs. So it's like, how clean is this building? And yeah. Next, my biggest thing, or something that I thought about, was I felt like it was easier to get an apartment in Texas. 1, because of the price of rent. Like I can literally get a 1-bedroom with a pool, with a gym, with all of these amenities for like $1,300, $1,200 in Dallas, not Austin, because Austin was expensive, but in Dallas. And I would never get that here in Chicago. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's easier to get a better apartment in Texas than it is here in Chicago. And like I spoke about in other videos, I do definitely feel like there's a lot of housing discrimination that goes on here in Chicago. Leasing agents or landlords will, if you're black, you know, or if you don't, like, not even like racial, but also like socioeconomic class. Like if you don't make enough, they kind of don't want you to live there, which I guess is valid, but like it's not valid for the race thing. But like obviously, like if you don't make enough, then you shouldn't be living here, because then how are you going to pay the rent? But then on the other hand, you have like these income-based housings, which that's like a whole nother story. It's just easier to get a better apartment down there than it is here. Like my place is by no means bad at all, but what I'll be getting in Texas is an upgrade, like literally living luxurious for cheaper. And I really can't seem to understand why. Like, is it because it's Texas and like they have more land or space? I don't know, but I definitely think it's easier to get an apartment, period, in Texas. Like not even like a nicer one. It's just easier to get an apartment, period, in Texas. Better in Texas than in Chicago. Last thing about making it easier to find an apartment in Texas than Chicago, there's a lot more options. There's a lot more options. For example, in Austin, I believe that everything in Texas is so far from each other. Like I tell my coworkers this all the time. I'm like, everything is so far from each other. When I went to Austin and we were like, our hotel was downtown, and then like we would go to like the Domain, and the Domain was literally like 30 minutes away. And I'm like, why is this so far? But I guess that's like going from my house to the West Loop, which could be 30 minutes with traffic, but you have all of this scenery in between, versus going in Austin. It's literally like I'm leaving downtown, then I'm going to the Domain, but through that I'm looking at a bunch of nothing. Everything is just far. But what I'm trying to say is there's so much more space, and the city is so much further from each other, that there are lots of options to find the apartment of your dreams. Versus here in Chicago, I want to say Chicago is more closer to New York. You find an apartment you like, you gotta hop on it ASAP or it's gone. And that could be the same for Texas, but some of the places I've been looking at have been kind of vacant for a while. So this can be seen as a pro or a con in someone else's eyes. But I think that this is what had like my brain tripped up. So if you guys have been watching my videos, you guys can see that I've been like, where are all the black people in Austin? Right? And I never talked about my apartment hunting in Dallas, but that'll be a whole separate video. I'm only talking about Austin because I recorded that. It was easy to find the black people in Dallas because there's more black people, but I was like, where are all the black people in Austin? And this is kind of what was different from apartment hunting in Chicago versus like Austin. Was like, in Chicago, since it's so segregated, I was like, okay, I know that I'm gonna look on the south side if I want to be near black people, look on this part of the city if I want to be near this type of people. But in Austin, it was hard for me because I was like, a city with no segregation? Huh? I know it sounds like crazy, but I was like, huh? Like, so I'm living in this neighborhood with all these different types of people, and not saying I haven't before, but obviously I'm black and I would like to be around people that look like me because it makes me feel comfortable. But it was kind of like, that was different. That was really different for me. Like being in a city that didn't have that much segregation. And like even back at home from where I'm from, my neighborhood is predominantly black. And it's been more recently that like y'all, in the past like couple years that I've been living here in Chicago, like my neighborhood was like, it's so like black that like back in the day, the pizza place didn't deliver to my neighborhood. And when my dad was like, yeah, like these white people moved next door, I'm like, white people move next door in our neighborhood? It was so weird. And they literally have like this gay pride flag hanging up, and it was so different. And I was like, and so that's like what's really different with Austin and Chicago. Like, looking in a city that doesn't have segregation really been tripping my mind up, because I was like, wow, this exists. It's so crazy because I didn't know how much I become so adapted to being segregated in Chicago until it's time for me to leave, and I'm having a hard time trying to reverse that. But that's like another story. So that's also what was different. So to end this video, I would definitely say my experiences have been different and also really tough, because I've been going to Texas, Austin, and Dallas with this mindset of a city, or looking for a neighborhood with an apartment that's walkable. Texas isn't walkable. Chicago's walkable. Like, I've literally walked from neighborhood to neighborhood, and it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. There's an ample amount of options in Dallas and in Austin, and then in Chicago, it's literally like not enough. So yeah, that's that. Man, this journey has been a lot, and I'm really thankful for the people in my life who's been patient with me, who's been helping me, and who's just been on this journey with me. Yeah, I won't get too sappy, but if you guys enjoyed this video, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys in my next video.